companions. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy. I want to welcome those of you online, and also want to welcome those of you that are sitting in front of my face. I'll tell you, it's so good to get a chance to focus in on the truth together. Feels good. I keep thinking about how the Course in Miracles keeps saying, let me remind you of what I just said, because, to be honest, I'm going to keep reminding you of just what I just said, because to be honest, we probably forgot. That's one of the things that happens a lot with the Course in Miracles. So we need a spiritual rewind sometimes, So if you're here in person, you get what I call the extra miracle points. So you get extra miracle points for being here. I know a lot of you wish you were here, and you can't be here in person, so I want you to know that I love you and appreciate you. Those who can be here, just bring your body, your holy body into the room, because you deserve some really real hugs and some good hugs, and get a little bit beyond the virtual level of doing things. So we almost at the end of reviewing lesson 51. And I'm going to do a quick review of what we have, because each one of the things that I'm about to mention is like a spiritual squeezy. It's going to clear your mind of false beliefs. So what we want to do is do what? We want to clear our mind of false beliefs. We want to clear our mind of false beliefs. So remember that the only guidelines of the Course, I'm going to say it real quickly, I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time, is that you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you'll find hard to believe. Some of the ideas might startle you. You're not being asked to judge and analyze the ideas at all. If you use the ideas, that's what gives the ideas meaning to you and shows you that they are true. The purpose of the workbook is to allow us to make that change of mind that the Course in Miracles is talking about. First half of the workbook teaches you how to undo the way that you've already learned to look at things from the world. And then the second half of the workbook is to give you the new interpretations and new perceptions that will produce the peace and the new reality that you want to go to. So one half of the book is undoing. The next half of the book, the workbook, is the new perception that we need. So the first thought that we had was, if you are able to hear me online and you're able to hear me good, I was going to try to monitor you, but for some reason the phone that I was going to use for that isn't working. So if you can hear me okay, send me some heart emojis. And if I see some heart emojis, I know that you can hear me, because I don't want to do like I did before, where I did the whole class and you couldn't hear anything that I was talking about. So I don't know, at some level, I guess we didn't want to hear what was being said, but this time around, let's see if you can hear me. So if you can, send me up a few. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I pretend that it's just for me, the way that you feel about me. That feels really good. So let's go back over it real quick. So the first one is nothing I see means anything. The Earl Purdy version of that is, my eyes are drama queens. My eyes are drama queens. That's the same as nothing I see means anything. So what if everything around you is neutral until you see it with love? So everything around you is neutral. And so what we got to do now is learn how to see it with love, because the Course is saying how we do things is we see it with fear. And that we see it through eyes of fear. And that the reason we see all the things in the world that reflect anger, guilt, grievances in the past is that we're looking at it through eyes of fear. And those are just other words that stand for fear. Anger, guilt, grievances, sickness, lack, attack are just forms of fear. So nothing I see means anything, means my eyes are drama queens. And also the second one is, I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. So does that mean this class that we're listening to today is what we see in this class is going to be the meaning that we give it. So the truth is, you're never listening, you're never hearing me, you're always hearing your interpretation of what you think I'm saying. So sometimes people will quote me, and it's the scariest thing I've ever heard. I'm serious. Some people say, well, you remember, Earl, when you said that when somebody's mad at you, that just means it's on some level that you need to run over them with a car. It's like no, that wasn't my interpretation of your anger and your upset. So say, I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. And so another way that you could put this, because I've been working on this and I've jotted down some notes that you're going to see me refer to, is AKA, oops, that's my baggage talking. Okay? I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. In most cases, it is our baggage giving everything the meaning that it has for us. So it really is, in most cases, when you're talking to people, it's their baggage talking. So the second one is what? I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. So how would you work that out in practice? In practice, that would be, let me stop assigning guilt and just ask for the truth. So let me stop assigning guilt and just ask for the truth. Just ask for the truth. Stop putting guilt trips on yourself. Stop putting guilt trips on other people and just ask for the truth. That would be the same as, that goes with I've given everything all the meaning that it has for me. So why don't we give it the meaning that Spirit is telling us to use instead of the meaning that we've made up? And how can you tell when you're using a meaning that you've made up? You have fear, guilt, upset, or anger. That's how you can tell the difference between an interpretation that you're coming up with and an interpretation that the truth is teaching us through the course. I'm teaching out of the course. The course says use these ideas regardless of your response to them. So it doesn't mean that you have to always feel good about what the Course in Miracles is saying in order for you to use it or to take advantage of it. That's what keeps me moving forward in the Course, because I realize that I'm not the one who determines what's true, and something can be true whether I believe it's true or not. So as long as you think everything has to fit into your way of seeing things, you're not going to get out of the limited perception that the Course in Miracles is promising you. At some level, I have to want to be happy more than I want to be right. I have to want the solution more than I want to be right. So when you go to number 3, and number 3 is I do not understand anything I see. So that means that your brain needs retraining, like badly. Your mind needs retraining badly. So how would you put that into practice? It would be, Holy Spirit, help me see what's really happening. I don't understand what I see. Help me see what's really happening. Help me see what's really happening. Well, what's really happening is I'm responding to the meaning that I'm giving to this situation. And what's really happening is that it doesn't mean anything until I give it a meaning. So one of the things that's so cool about the workbook is that it answers the question of what do I tell myself in my everyday life to apply these principles? So that's why the ego would have so much resistance against the workbook. It's because it's what actually changes a person's mind to allow them to actually use the material and what it's saying, right? So if you feel like you are in a situation right now and you think that the situation is what's causing you to feel what you feel, the Course is telling us, no, actually what's causing you to feel what you feel is that you're giving that meaning and that interpretation, and then you're reacting to the interpretation that you are giving yourself. Today is Mother's Day, and I've been called a mother a few times, so I've been feeling very spiritual and really looked at with love and joy. So I was just called a mother a few days ago, you know. The Course says the way we got in hell, called the earth, that keeps us sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy, is we forgot to laugh. This is a joke that we forgot to laugh at. It's a joke to think that your Creator could condemn you. It's a joke to think that you are guilty. It's a joke to think that you could have lack. It's a joke to think that you are alone. It's a joke to think that you are not valuable. The Course says actually what that is, that's a joke. That's so ridiculous that when you wake up to who you really are, you will realize all the stuff that you were upset about was really something you should have laughed at because it's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that your creator doesn't love you. It's ridiculous to think that there's no answer. It's ridiculous to think that we're all alone here trying to deal with things. So what do we want to ask Spirit to do? We want to ask Spirit to say to Holy Spirit, help me see what's really happening. Help me see what's really happening. So then the fourth one that we went through was, these thoughts do not mean anything. That was the fourth one in the review that we have. So what would be another way to look at that? Is to remember that not every thought is true, not every thought is useful, not every thought is even sane. Not every thought is true, not every thought is useful, not every thought is even sane. So how do you put this in practice? You put it in practice by telling yourself, let me observe thoughts without grabbing them like hot potatoes. Okay? So it's sort of like the Course says you're supposed to look at your thought as if you were looking at an odd processional. In other words, he says, look at your thoughts as if it's a parade that's happening before you. So if I'm sitting on the sidewalk watching the parade, would I get into trouble if I reached out and grabbed the majorette and pulled her out of the parade? Yeah, right? Instant problem. Well, the Course in Miracles says that's exactly what we do. We have all these thoughts passing before us, and then we grab some of the thoughts, and then we grab hold of those thoughts, and those thoughts are the thoughts that make us feel unhappy or make us feel upset, because we didn't just let the thought go by. We grabbed it and then gave it meaning and then turned around, and now all we're doing is focusing on the majorette thought that I grabbed out of the parade instead of watching it go by. So when you begin to wake up spiritually, you still have your thoughts. And some of those thoughts might be thoughts of fear or ego, but the difference is you won't try to grab them. You'll just let it go. Because once you get that you're loved unconditionally, and once you get that you'll always be helped and you'll always be corrected and healed, then you won't feel a need to focus on every individual thought that upsets you, because you know that thought is going to not have any effect on who you really are. Nothing you can think, nothing that you tell yourself has an effect on you as God created you, as Spirit created you. So you're going to keep seeing the Course in Miracles flip back to, my feelings are coming from my thinking. 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 My feeling about this is coming from my thinking. I spoke at the 11 o'clock service this morning, and one of the things that I wanted to address was that Mother's Day is not a happy day for everybody. Some people hate their mothers. They saw their mothers as not being helpful, being cruel, not being kind. And so what do those people do, right? Same thing like the holidays. For some people, that's the worst time of the year, because that's when they become most aware that maybe they are not experiencing the kind of love they want. So just because your life seems to be going the way you want it to go, that doesn't mean that you completely heal your mind yet, because we are all one. So if we're all one and we're all connected and we're all one mind, then that means whatever I perceive is some segment of my own mind. So it means if you're unhappy, there's a part of my mind that's unhappy. If you're happy, there's a part of my mind that's happy. For me to look at things as if the way that I feel is the ultimate way, is me not recognizing the oneness that we all share. That's one of the most obvious things that people miss. Just because you're having a good day, that doesn't mean you've healed your mind. You haven't healed your mind until you're looking at things in such a way that you recognize that joy for everyone. So the Course says there's a test that you give yourself to see if you still need to study and if you still need to focus on your spiritual path. And it said that test is, you ask yourself, am I at peace? Then you ask yourself, is everyone that I know, is everyone I know at peace? And then the third question you ask is, anyone and everyone I can even think of, are they at peace? And so unless you can say yes to all three of those, It says then you still have some work to do with spirit as far as to undoing your own thinking and your own way of being. Because it's easy for me to go, yes, I'm at peace, but I can't honestly say everybody I know is. And I certainly can't say everybody I even think of or read about is. So that keeps me from deceiving myself about where I am. Because that's why, like, sometimes people say, I feel great, and all of a sudden the whole day changes in 2 seconds or something. But, well, that's because now you had another one of your thoughts show up that you didn't think was your thought. Or you're seeing the result of something that happened to you that you weren't thinking about. And so just keep that in mind. But don't put yourself down. Don't not let yourself have the joy. There's some chairs over in the room right there.
Is it okay if I sit
Yeah,
down?
absolutely. Absolutely. Come right in the circle. There's a chair right here.
Yeah, there's several.
Yeah, we got a chair right here. You can sit in. Yeah, we want you to be right here in us, right there around us and everything. That's right. You're too cute to be in the back. It don't work that way. That's not the way this works. You have to be ready for acknowledgement, to be seen. Okay, so is this making sense what I was saying?
Very much.
Okay, because denial is not a river in Egypt. So just think about that. Denial is not a river in Egypt. The Course in Miracles teaches that one of the ways that people even allow themselves to think that they're happy most of the time is they're in denial. That they pretend that they're feeling what they're not feeling, or deny that they feel what they feel. And so the Course teaches that what you're perceiving always represents some thought in your own mind. So if you want to know what your unconscious, subconscious thoughts are, those can be the thoughts that you think of as the thoughts that other people have, or thoughts that other people are doing. Because those are the thoughts I'm in denial about being projected out in the world in front of me. So the world is a reflection of my subconscious mind, my unconscious mind, what's going on that I'm not aware of usually. Because we're consciousness and spirit and awareness, that's what we really are, and not bodies. Our bodies are our way of communicating with each other. But who we are, the Course says, is mind, awareness, and consciousness. But we don't know that because we've been programmed to believe we are just physical bodies that are born and die one day. And then while you're here, you make up images about who and what you think you are. And then it says, then you make up images about who and what you think other people are. And then you say, that's myself. And then the way that he says the way that you keep separation going is you go into constant disagreement or constant opposite points of view of everything that you see, because that allows me to be different from you. So it's a way for me to have my own individual identities, to not be like you and not to think like you. So the Course says now, it doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, because nothing in love is going to condemn you anyway. So it says, well, okay, let's take your uniqueness, let's take that individuality that you fight so hard for, and just use it as being a part of your personal function and your personal way of expressing yourself to come into the awareness that you are loved and only love. So each one of us brings a unique gift to the table, but the goal is the same, which is to recognize love and to recognize our oneness. But we're doing it all in our own quote-unquote individual way. So it's not putting down individuality, but at the same time, it's saying to us we have a oneness and a sameness on the other side of that that's real, that's there. And what I love is that everybody's on their own path, everybody's got their own personal curriculum, and everybody goes at their own rate and at their own pace. And so as long as I take the truth and apply it to myself, I'm doing my part. So he says our one responsibility is to take the truth and apply it to yourself. People who don't know the truth, they think their personal responsibility is to change everybody else and to get everybody else to be different. And then that's where the happiness is going to come from. I'm not going to change me. I'm going to change you. And that's how we're going to make everything all right. So that means, again, these thoughts do not mean anything. Not every thought is true. Not every thought is useful. But also not every thought is sane. So how do you handle this in practice? It says, well, the way you handle this in practice is that you tell yourself, let me observe my thoughts without grabbing them like hot potatoes. Just like I say, oh, okay, that's my thought of upset. Let me watch that joker go by. Oh, this is my judgment. Let that one go by. So let's take a deep dive, and we're going to take a deep dive into lesson 5 in the review, which is I'm never upset for the reason I think. I love that one. I'm never upset for the reason I think. 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 You are never upset for the reason you think. You're 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 never afraid for the reason you think. You're never upset for the reason you think. You're never upset for the reason you think. You're never upset for the reason you think. You're never afraid for the reason you think. You're never angry for the reason you think. What do you mean I'm never angry for the reason I think? I know you think you're angry because they said they were going to get here at 7 o'clock for dinner and they got here at 8 o'clock. You're upset because of what you're telling yourself about them getting here at 7:30 and you thought they were going to get here at 6:30. You're upset because of what you're telling yourself about what they're doing. So you're not really upset for the reason you think, because the reason you're upset is the meaning that you're giving to what just happened. Because somebody else could see that exact same situation and not react to it with upset. Looking at the exact same thing and don't react to it not the way you do. Why is that? Because you're giving it the meaning and I'm giving it the meaning and we're reacting to the meanings that we're giving it. You follow that? Okay, that's why I'm not upset for the reason I think. The Course says, I'm never upset for the reason I think because I'm constantly trying to justify my thoughts. That's another thing. It says I'm constantly trying to justify the way that I look at it, and I'm constantly trying to make my thoughts true. Because people want to be right a lot of times more than they want to be happy. Now, a lot of you are taking notes, and a lot of you are watching it 4 times. I'm getting a lot of feedback, and you're approaching it just like it's your path, and you're studying this path, and you're working on it, and you're doing your study on it. Thank you so much. I'm here especially for you, and I'm also grateful to be here for people who are dropping in and just checking it out. But I'm especially trying to support people who they see this as their path, and they want help going through the Course in Miracles, because after 45 years of teaching it and studying it, it's not a lot of things on this earth that I'm familiar with, but this I am. And so I want to be helpful to those who they see this as their path, because it's not everybody's path. Got that? It's not everybody's path. But some people, it is, and they know it is. Even though they have the same resistance that other people can have, they know it's their path. And that's what's the beauty of Spirit. Spirit's going to give you a path that's your path, that's your way. So that's why I don't try to correct other people. It's because they're following their path. They got their spiritual guidance, and I trust their spiritual guidance will take them in the direction that they need to go in. They don't need me to tell them what to do. But for people who are open and receptive to what's coming through me, then those are the people that Spirit wants to hear that. And so I try to move that way throughout my entire experience. As much as I can, I try to listen, and I'm listening to see, what are you saying that I can support you in? What are you saying that you feel is your path and what you should be doing? And then I can go, okay, I want to support you in doing that. I'm not going to try to get you to do it my way. Okay, so that's what we're hearing now. He says, I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. What the heck does that mean? Well, if I'm attacking a person and I'm angry at a person, then I need to make you my enemy. I got to make you be doing something that's potentially harmful to me or hurtful to me to see you as my enemy. So the Course is saying, I make all things my enemies. If I want to be mad at you, I got to have a reason to be mad at you, which means I'm going to focus on whatever I think you're doing that's wrong, bad, and a threat to me. That's why I'm mad. I've made you my enemy. But I haven't realized how much I'm misusing everything and everybody if I want to use them for my anger and my upset. If I want to use them to make them my enemy in some kind of way. That's not what you all are meant to be. You're not meant to be my enemies. You're not to be looked at as you are here to hurt me in some way. That's not your purpose. That's not why you're on the planet. So the Course is saying by assigning this role to people, that you're blaming them for what you're going through, then you're trying to defend a way of thinking that's hurting you. That way of thinking I'm alone, or that somebody's trying to hurt me, they're not for my own best interest. My focus on that, the Course says, that's a thought system that's hurting me, because whatever I believe, whatever I focus in on, whatever I believe is true, the nature of perception is that your perception witnesses to what you believe, and what you believe is true. So if I want to see everybody as my enemy, then I'm going to meet people that are going to absolutely validate that. Growing up in the South in a black body, I actually experienced segregation. I'm old enough to have experienced that. And I was taught that white people were my enemy and my oppressors. So if I looked at it that way, then I was always running into the racist white people who didn't like black people. If I was a black person that didn't like white people. Because the reality is going to witness to what my beliefs are. And even if it was people who were not racist, I wouldn't even see them, because I'm focused on the idea that you are my enemy. I always thought that was stupid. I've always thought the most ignorant person around is somebody that judges somebody by the color of their skin or their ethnic group or stuff like that, instead of having a communication with the person, getting to know the person, and then how you relate to the person is coming from the fact that I've gotten to know you. But I'm not going to just see you walk in and say all women are like this, or all men are like this, or all white folk this way, all black folk this way, or whatever your race is. That is a thought system that would hurt me. And the Course in Miracles is saying, you should say, I no longer want that thought system, and I'm willing to let it go. So I no longer want that thought system. I'm willing to let it go. So let's take more of a deep dive into that core idea. You're not upset because of what's happening. Check this out, I'll say it again. You're not upset because of what's happening. You're upset because of what you think it means. I'm not upset because of what's happening. I'm upset because of what I think this means. I'm upset because of I saw you dancing with somebody else real close, right? I'm upset not because you're dancing with somebody else. I'm upset because of what I think that means. If I see you smiling at somebody, y'all looking at each other, and I remember the thing that made me want to get over jealousy. I thought I wasn't jealous. I thought I wasn't capable of jealousy. I've been studying the truth, and I'm just not capable of jealousy. And so I was in denial at some level and didn't know it, right? So then I was at a party with my girlfriend, and I walked into the room, and she was dancing with somebody, and it looked like they was really vibing, for real. It wasn't like they was dancing, just dancing. It looked like, wow, it looked like they were, and I felt this stab. How many of y'all ever felt jealousy before? It can feel like somebody just took a knife and just went, and so I had convinced myself that I was so beyond all of that, that when I felt that, it was like, oh my God. And I went, the ego would say, the way you get past this jealousy is to make sure she never dances with anybody except you again, right? Yeah. The ego is going to always say, the wrong voice is going to always say, the way to handle it is to get the other person to change some kind of way, speak differently some kind of way. So just if you don't dance with another man, then I don't feel the pain of jealousy. But that doesn't mean I've gotten rid of my jealousy. It just means you're not playing that key on my piano. The piano is a Steinway. It's like, it's right there in the middle of the living room. And just as nobody plays the keys, then I'm okay. And that's what most people do. They do the way you get, so you don't go out to dinner with nobody but me. You don't dance with anybody but me. You don't spend any time with anybody but me. And now the jealousy is handled. But I actually not dealt with the thoughts that's causing the jealousy, which is whatever I was telling myself about what her dancing with somebody else meant. So because I was studying the truth, I went to, okay, what I want to do is learn how to look at things so that I never feel this feeling again, rather than trying to control the other person's behavior. because I knew that I wanted my freedom. See, because if I start using limitation and restriction as the way to handle things, it's going to create limitation and restriction for me too, right? So I know I wanted my freedom to extend to people if I wanted to extend to people. So I certainly couldn't say to her that the answer to this is you can't extend to anybody but me, because all that I give is given to myself. That's one of the Course in Miracles lessons. Everything you give is given to yourself. So I wanted to let that thought system go because I wasn't upset for the reason I thought. Right? So I'm telling you, if you're on a spiritual path, do not think being on a spiritual path is positive thinking, even though it's great to be positive. It doesn't mean take your thoughts and your fears and sweep them under the rug and pretend that you don't feel them. And that somehow or another that makes you spiritual. Because you're saying, I love everybody and I never get upset about anything. Because as soon as you do that, you go into denial about your own thoughts, and you'll meet a situation or a person or a circumstance that will absolutely show you lying to yourself, just like I did, you know. Now, she was dealing with me extending a lot to people, so I thought, well, you know, and I'm practicing the truth, and I'm teaching the truth, because I didn't realize, like I realize now, the main reason why I was a teacher was because I was the one that needed to learn this the most. That's why I'm sitting up here. It's the fastest way for my path of enlightenment is to be the teacher, because I can't forget something that I'm always reminding other people of. See, so every time I do a class, it's reinforcing my belief in this, and then I'm getting the results. So I feel so grateful to have you here, the people online. I'm so grateful to you because you are allowing me to remember more than anything, because I'm teaching this over and over and over again. So this is what we want to do right now. So now let's look at some examples of drama versus truth. A little bit. Drama versus truth with Earl Purdy. Okay. Drama, they don't respect me. Truth, I'm really afraid I'm not lovable. That's the truth. Drama, I'm angry at traffic. The truth is I feel powerless. I'm stuck, I feel totally powerless. See, what is it? I'm never upset for the reason I think. What's happening is my feeling of powerlessness is upsetting me in that situation in traffic, and that's why I'm freaking out. I'm frustrated at work. That's a good one. That's real popular. I'm frustrated at work, but a person wouldn't realize that the truth of that is I believe I'm not good enough. At some deep level, I believe I'm not good enough. So, so let's take a minute. Anybody in here willing to share a recent upset?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So, I don't know if it's going to make any sense, but my husband did something that upset me last night. He did, and I made total meaning of it. He played, it's such a long story.
No, you don't. Yeah, you have to get to the point.
He played a song.
Yeah, okay.
He played a song.
Okay.
And I got mad.
Okay.
That he played the song.
Okay. Okay.
Who cares?
Okay.
And
okay.
And I got mad, and I immediately went to, well, of course he played the song because he was trying to get a rise or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it to his attention. What? You know,
yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
And I was, the whole time you were talking to him, like, readiness isn't mastery, readiness isn't mastery. And then I judge myself
okay.
for not being able to let it go.
Okay. And so you can see how what we talked about from the Course right now has such practical application in that situation. Starting out with the idea of my husband made me mad. Mm-hmm. See, right? So all you have to do to correct anything that you say is to say some variation of I won't. In other words, I'm mad at you. I want to be mad at you. You know, I'm making myself mad. I'm making myself upset because you dance real close to another person, right? That's the correct perception. But it's not in denial. I'm not being in denial about my anger. I'm not pretending I'm not angry. I'm empowering myself by saying I made myself angry. right? So that reflects a hidden belief. So what kind of hidden belief do you think that feeling that you were going through showed you? Like, right? It's like I went through that. What do you think? Just like again, we could throw it out to the group for a minute. You know, what type of hidden belief is it possible that you had that was making you get upset?
I would, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's the hidden belief that was making me upset. I wasn't upset for the reason I think. I was upset because at some level I felt afraid and I felt threatened by what was happening right there. So what I really was responding to was some sense of threat, some sense of fear, which is what the Course teaches. Everything is some variation of fear. That everything that's making us unhappy is some variation of fear. So every time we do these things, it's almost like another episode of Law and Order, emotional disturbance. You know, the emotional disturbance unit. That's what we're doing all the time. Law and Order, that's what we're doing all the time. So I want you to take a minute, just a minute, and yes.
What if her husband actually played that song on purpose to hurt her in that moment, and she was feeling that? It's like, how do you actually take that as like not your own? No,
our reaction to no matter what somebody's doing, that's our responsibility. Even if he was doing that on purpose, he wasn't responsible for her reaction. We're the ones that's always responsible for our interpretation and the meaning that we're giving everything, and that meaning that we're giving it is what's determining our feelings. Don't forget, the Course in Miracles is about changing your perception. And it's saying that your meaning and your perception is what's determining. I could be in the presence of a Ku Klux Klan member that wanted to lynch me, but how I am feeling emotionally is going to come from the way I'm interpreting that moment. That's the point that the Course is trying to get us to get to, is to understand. And we're going to have a million resistances to this, okay? Let's just get that straight, okay? We're going to have a lot of resistance to what I'm saying because we've been conditioned and programmed to believe that what somebody else is doing determines how we feel.
But can I ask you a question? Just like the Ku Klux Klan example, or any of the examples, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But how do you, at some point through the Course, do they say that there's no place that you do, that there is anger or fear or something else?
Yeah, no, in the Course, can I give y'all permission to get pissed off and not like some things that you're going to hear?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. I'm not here to say what we've been programmed and conditioned to believe. What the Course is trying to get us to see is that the feelings that we have are coming from the meanings that we're giving things, period. And that there is a way to learn how to react to anything in a way that you keep your center and you keep your peace. And then from that place of peace, you have clarity of vision. You have a more clearer perception of things when you're not upset. Agreed? If you're not upset, you handle things better. So if I'm not upset, I can see clearer how to best handle it. Like, for instance, if you weren't upset, you would be in a better position to talk to your husband to see if whether that was something he was consciously trying to do to you or not. But if you're coming from that place of power, the Course says when you're coming from that peaceful place, one of the advantages of it is you can hear your own inner guidance clearer. And what you want in the end is to hear what your divine voice, your inner guidance is telling you about how to handle that situation.
So it's not saying stay in this terrible situation you're in.
No.
It's saying come to it from a place of peace.
Yeah. If I can come from a place of peace, then I'll know how better to handle the guy standing up there with the noose in his hand. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm glad you shared that. That's what I'm talking about. The Course is all about, I want to give you a new interpretation of what's going on that would allow you to keep your peace. And if you can keep your peace, you can hear your guidance from the divine that would tell you how to handle that situation. Does it help?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm never saying it's okay. I'm not saying that the physical circumstance is always a circumstance that's okay. I'm not saying that the Course isn't saying that at all. It's not saying if you were seeing somebody being beat up on the street that's you giving yourself peace about that. It's saying you are keeping your peace enough to know what to do in that situation and how to react to it and what guidance that you're receiving in that situation. Because if my feelings are coming from my interpretation, then I could feel good pretty much all the time if I could give myself the correct interpretation. So my peace, I like the fact that my peace is coming from me. I didn't like the fact that for instance, the example I gave, if I said my peace with my girlfriend at that time was going to come from her not dancing with anybody else, then now my peace is out of my hands. Because now it's about me trying to control her all the time in order for me to feel good. But if I could learn to look at it in a way that I kept my peace, then first of all, I wouldn't be coming at her from an attack place. I wouldn't be coming at her from a defensive place. I wouldn't be coming at her from a level of accusation, which would in turn make her less defensive also, and we could probably talk that out. So we can always do it, yes, but what we want to do is focus on what is the point. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I think I'm upset about what I'm telling myself. That's what's upsetting me, not the real situation. Yeah.
So does the Course also teach you, I guess, tools or skills of how to come, like, if you're triggered in the moment and you know that you're not coming from a healthy space,
right,
because you're coming from an emotional space.
Right.
So what is the like? Does the Course also teach that?
Well, that's what the workbook is for.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly what I'm doing now. I'm reviewing a workbook lesson, which is what I do. I tell myself I'm not upset for the reason I think. These thoughts that I'm telling myself right now are not true and they don't mean anything. I'm giving this all the meaning that it has for me. Because when you say stuff like that, it can give you a pause. Just a pause for a minute that might allow you to deal with that situation totally differently. If I say I'm never upset for the reason I think, I go, wait a minute, if I'm not jealous for the reason I think, why am I jealous? Okay, well that could be the moment I need to not attack. Now what the Course has taught me, which is just, instead of trying to remember all the rules, just remember the main rule. Do you know what the main rule is? And your ego isn't gonna probably like this, but the main rule is don't physically attack. Come up with any solution, but physically attack it, if at all possible. Now, if you're not on the level of consciousness where you can do that, well, you've already hit them. so then it's a matter of can you forgive yourself and try not to do it again. But if you can do that pause, what would be the pause? The pause could be just me telling myself I'm never upset for the reason I think. So again, I just want you to consider these things that you're hearing. But it doesn't mean you have mastered it just because you're hearing it. And that's what we have to watch, is that we hear something and then we think we ought to automatically be able to do it. You know, I hear that I need to forgive this person that molested me when I was a child, or look at it, which of course says forgiveness doesn't mean overlooking what that person did. That from a Course perspective, forgiveness would be me learning how to look at it in another way that'll keep me from harming myself about it. I'll say it again. Forgiveness would be me learning how to look at it another way that would allow me to have more peace. It's not, I'm going to try to overlook what you've done to me because I'm trying to be more spiritual on a higher level of consciousness. It goes so far as to say you can't forgive something that you really think somebody has really done to you. That's why when you say forgiveness, people don't ever jump up and down usually in joy, because they think it's letting somebody off the hook. So when you say forgiveness, it's like a lot of times I would do workshops on forgiveness, and I'd say, okay, it would be something on forgiveness, or I would meet somebody and say, what you do? I teach forgiveness. Most cases I was met with dead silence. But if I say, what I do is I teach classes on how to release anger, guilt, grievances in the past, you know what they would say 99% of the time? I need that. But that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is letting go of anger, guilt, and grievances and misperceptions from the past. But if you say forgive, people don't jump up and down. Why? Because they think it's letting someone off the hook.
Or yourself.
Or yourself. And you've already decided that punishing yourself is the answer. Because that's what we are taught in the wrong-mindedness of our ego, is that the way that you absolve yourself of your guilt is through punishing yourself. Because punishment is the way that we are taught that you clean the slate. Now the slate, you robbed the bank, you did 10 years, you got punished, now the slate's clean. See, so we are programmed that punishment is correction and that punishment is justice. So when we do something and we want to be a good person and we do something that we think is wrong, then what do you think the good person is going to try to do first? They're going to try to feel as guilty as possible about what they think they've done, because feeling guilty is what a good person does. But what the person doesn't realize, that the Course teaches, is that when you feel guilty, it's a request for punishment. Because we've been programmed to think what you feel guilty about is something you need to be punished for at some level. So people don't realize when they're walking around feeling guilty, they're saying to the universe, punish me, punish me, punish me, punish me. Then they're shocked when they have constant financial problems. They're shocked when they have constant job problems. They're shocked when they have constant health problems. Or they're shocked when they have constant relationship problems. And they don't realize, well, that's part of the punishment that you've ordered up for yourself because you feel guilty. And so a guilty person doesn't deserve to have an easy, prosperous, loving life. So the Course says that you should realize that what you've done is a mistake and that mistake can be corrected. Why? Don't forget to watch my classes at least 4 times. Okay. Why? Because people don't like to make mistakes. People have been programmed not to make mistakes. We don't like to make mistakes. So when you call something a mistake, your mind is already programmed not to keep doing what you think of as a mistake. But what you feel guilty about, you're going to do over and over and over again. Because the guilt is the fact that you feel guilty is ordering the punishment. And so continuing to feel guilty continues the punishment. The more punishment I get, the more I'm being absolved. Have you noticed how many things you've done that you feel guilty about again? Have you noticed that you can feel guilty about something and you'll find, I'm not going to ever eat too much chocolate, and I feel guilty. Next thing you know, you got a big old box of chocolate sitting on the counter because I feel guilty about it. And the Course teaches that the way that we maintain separation is through fear and guilt. If I feel guilt around you, I'm going to want to separate from you. I'm not going to want to hang out with people that I make myself feel guilty all the time with. So guilt is a form of separation. So let's go to the next part of this. I want to make sure I get this out before we finish. And remember, you don't have to believe what I'm saying, accept what I'm saying, welcome what I'm saying. It's okay to resist it. It's okay not to believe it. This is not a class saying you got to agree with me. I shouldn't be in the front of the room if everybody needs to agree with me. So what do we want to do now? Okay, here's a question. Okay, so ask yourself this question, and you don't have to necessarily answer it out loud, but ask yourself this question. What's upsetting me right now? What's upsetting me right now? Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that, because that meant you really wanted to let go of it.
I did.
Yeah. You know, what you had, you can't really get rid of. And that also was a symbol of trust. Because I know that nobody out there has ever been upset with their mate. Or think that their mate was trying to do anything. Because nothing upsets us more than thinking that our mate, friend, or partner is intentionally trying to hurt us. And guess what? 99% of the time, they aren't ever intentionally trying to hurt you. Even if you think they are, you know. And unless you're dealing with somebody on such a low level of consciousness that you need to ask yourself, what am I doing on the level of consciousness that I attract somebody like this? That's the real issue, rather than them being horrible people. It's like, well, why are they yoked me? Right? Like, why is that person? So what is it that you need to look at that would make you attract somebody like that would intentionally get up and say, I want to hurt you? That's pretty intense. And I bet you most of you, if you be honest, your whole life, that's happened very seldom, if at all, that you got up in the morning and said, I want to hurt somebody today. So most people don't. They just don't know. And if they're afraid, like I said, if I hadn't been afraid, then in that situation that I described earlier, I would immediately try to control her to make sure she didn't do what I didn't like. But I would have also had to limit myself also. In which, as a Sagittarius, I dare you. It's like freedom is everything to me. But I understand now that freedom is of the mind. I used to think freedom was of the body. It was really of the mind. It's not about what I can do with my body with anybody I want to do it with. Freedom is me feeling innocent in my mind. That's what freedom is. It's me having thoughts of love, thoughts of peace, thoughts of innocence. That's freedom, because those kind of thoughts are going to produce that kind of reality for me, because the physical reality is a reflection of our thoughts.
Oh.
So you want to have thoughts that are loving, rather than trying to make everybody be loving. And people who like drama are naturally going to leave you alone, because their goal is to suffer. And if you're a peaceful person, you're not helping anybody suffer. So people who believe they need to suffer, they're going to avoid you like the plague. So the peaceful person doesn't even have a lot of people giving them a hard time, because people who like drama won't be drawn to them. They need people who are going to keep their drama going. If I think I'm not deserving of love, then people who would give me love, I'm going to have to get rid of them and not even notice them, because I think I don't deserve love. So all my attention is going to be on the one that's not giving me what I need. That's the way that works, automatically. So you ask yourself, what's upsetting me now? Then after you ask yourself what's upsetting you now, then the next thing you ask yourself is, well, what's the real reason? But we just heard today what the real reason for my upset. Who can tell me in their own words? What's the real reason?
Reinforce our beliefs.
That's right, to reinforce my belief, the interpretation I'm giving. You had your hand up.
Yeah, what the hardest thing for me to realize.
And please speak loud so that people online
The
can hear
hardest
you.
thing for me to realize most recently is the reality that I do not see correctly. That my perceptions are untruth. They're not true. My sight is not correct. My feeling, it's coming from a different. I mean, it's a conviction. This whole idea of self, myself, is a conviction based on belief from reinforcement. But my perception, the fact that I'm not seeing right, the fact that it's not true. What's right in front of my eyes, it's not true. It's absolutely not true.
Right.
And my beliefs about it are true to me.
To you.
And I'm operating off of these beliefs, and I'm reinforcing these beliefs, not based on any truth, because it's all false.
And
it's being reinforced on assumed beliefs.
Yes.
And when I'm asking for another way of looking at it, thank God we have another way of looking at it, I feel good because I'm letting go.
And that's why I said, that's why this review was saying that. You recognize it. You recognize this way of, check it out. I have done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me, that I no longer want. I am willing to let it go.
But it's so true.
It's so
true.
Right. But there's not a more lovely liar than our perceptions. Because our perceptions is witness to what we believe based on what we've learned and experienced in the past. So the nature of perception is that it always validates whatever it is that you believe and accept is true. So just because you perceive something doesn't mean it's true, just like you were saying. Just because I perceive it, like for instance, I could have perceived that this person is trying to hurt me, okay? that perception would have caused me to react as if you're trying to hurt me, right? So then I'm going to come from a place of defense and attack, which is going to probably do what in them? Trigger the exact same reaction, right? Yeah. Which will make you feel even more justified that you were right. See how he's acting, but you don't realize, well, that's a reaction to your own attack and your own defensiveness. And so what the Course says, well, first of all, tell yourself, I don't like the way I feel right now. I don't like what I'm feeling right now. See, that's how, if I was going to talk to her, that's what I would have started out with based on the Course. I would have walked up to her and said, 2 things. I don't like what I'm feeling right now. This is what I saw. I don't like what I feel right now. I hope that I'm wrong. See, when you say I hope that I'm wrong, that immediately will start to cut down on the other person feeling defensive and make them more open to what you have to say. I saw you holding him really, really close, and it looked like you all were really, really getting into each other. I hope I'm wrong. Now, they could really, really be getting into each other, but I'm saying I hope I'm wrong about it, and I want another way to look at it. And so I'm asking for another way to look at it. That's going to cut down on the defense of the other person. Just the fact that they don't feel like they're being attacked by you. So me saying I want another way of looking at it is not me trying to control you. It's like I want another way to look at this right now. And then the Course is giving me, in the workbook, there are 365 lessons of another way to look at it. So you don't even have to figure out what the other way of looking at it is. But you would have to be willing to get your butt into the book and open it up and do your workbook lesson and apply it to it. So that's the thing. It's like, it's not asking you to come up with it out of your own wisdom. The Course isn't asking for you to come up with the other way to look at it. If you're a Course student or whatever your path is, that's your cue to go to your path and see what is it that your path is telling you to tell yourself. It's not about you using your wisdom to try to come up with the other way of looking at it, because you've already shown you don't have the right way of looking at it, because you're upset.
You just have a belief.
You're acting from your belief.
So that's what I did last night. I went to the Course and I started doing the lesson that I was working on yesterday. But sometimes I couldn't get out of my own way, and then that's where the judgment came in. Like, why can't I do what the Course is telling me to do?
Well, you did do what the Course was telling you to do. You went to the Course when you were upset, because remember, it says no matter what your response to the ideas may be, use it. Okay, so it doesn't mean just because I went to the Course, I'm going to immediately feel all sweetness and light toward my husband. But if I go to the Course, I still got the correct answer, whether I'm able to actualize it right now or not, right? The correct answer was I'm responding to the meaning I'm giving it. I'm never upset for the reason. Okay, that doesn't mean as soon as you said it, you go, oh, I'm cool now. No, you told yourself the truth. And so every time you tell yourself the truth and you don't attack, and you tell yourself the truth, you're closer to that moment where you do fully accept it and feel peace. So when you practice the truth, you're just doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily go into this state of consciousness. And just giving yourself that moment to go to the Course was beautiful, because that meant you valued your peace more than you valued attack. Because if you really wanted to attack and stay in anger, you wouldn't have attempted to look at it another way. So I already know you're going to win. See, I know you're going to win because you went to the truth. And the truth is true whether you believe it or not. So you went to what eventually really will be the solution. But you have to be gentle with yourself while you're in the process of learning how to do this. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. So what would your be like? Which lesson hit you the hardest? What would your day be like if you practiced just one of these lessons? What would your day be like if you just said, today was I'm giving everything I see all the meaning that has for me day? Or if you went, this is the day that I'm going to tell myself I'm not upset for the reason I think, I'm not jealous for the reason I think, I'm not broke for the reason I think, I'm not sad for the reason I think. Yeah, just entertain the idea all day long that it may not be for the reason you think. What would happen? And then how would your reactions change? Now this is a good one. How would your reactions change if you assumed your thoughts weren't true? I said again, how would your reactions change if you just assumed, hey, I'm coming from this place of fear and upset. Maybe it's something that I'm telling myself is not true, right? I think my husband's trying to hurt me. What if I was to just assume that wasn't my husband's goal? Mm-hmm. So even if it was, that would make you feel more peace. You have more peace, you're in a better position to handle whatever it is. That's my point, is that no matter what, if you were in a car accident and you were injured, would you want the person who walks up and goes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, would you want that to be the person that was trying to help you? Or if you were injured, would you want the person that goes, okay, take a breath, be calm, I'm calling 911, you're gonna, right? So it's the person that's the most peaceful. It's the person that handles things better. So if I'm angry, that tells me I'm equivalent to the person going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You're not going to handle things well from that spot. So when the Course says anger is never justified, which upsets some people when they first hear that. What do you mean? What do you mean my anger isn't justified? I called him in the bed. It's like, it's like, no, when it says your anger isn't justified, what that means is your anger isn't justified in the sense that there is another way you could look at it where you wouldn't feel angry. That's why your anger isn't justified, because there is another way you could look at it. That's why it's not the fact that they're in that situation, but the fact that there's a way for you to look at it that you could peacefully deal with it. See, same thing. If that's unacceptable, I'm in a relationship with you, we agreed that we're not going to have other partners, we're not going to be in other situations with other people, and I come in and I see you in the bed with somebody, then that means that if I did, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to say you didn't keep our agreement, so therefore I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Mm-hmm. It just meant you didn't attack yourself because of what they were doing with somebody else, because that anger and upset is affecting you. It's attacking your body. It's giving you high blood pressure. It's giving you disease. It's giving you, so the Course is trying to teach us to stop attacking ourselves because of what we perceive other people doing. Stop attacking yourself because of what's going on in the world. Stop attacking yourself. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to get right at the end. I'm going to do my 15-minute discussion, and we'll get a chance to go deeper. So hold on to that. Okay. All right. I know you will. I can tell. I know you. I know that look in your eyes. I know it ain't going nowhere. That's why I love you. All right. So let me wrap it up. The lesson 51 is like a spiritual window. It's wiping the fog off your own inner lens, so that you can finally see with love. It's like a windshield wiper. That's what it is. Perfect analogy. The Course is like a windshield wiper, right? The rain's still happening, but the windshield wiper is allowing you to see. So the Course is saying to us, imagine this miracle energy that we have. Imagine it in 3D. Imagine it as acting out in your physical life. So if today lit a spark, bring your body and the rest of your life in to let yourself feel that fire, to feel that fire of truth, so that you can be the best person. So I'm going to stop here. And we're going to do the love offering for those who choose to share. That's fine. I love you. And thank you as a full-time teacher especially. I really thank you. Was that helpful today? Was that helpful? Was that helpful?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It always is.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you for your correct perception. It's about time someone saw me.
It's the only correct position I have.
That's right. I love it. I love it. So those of you watching online, if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, I'm going to make it easy for you. You can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, which is, I have a brand new website. I want to invite you to go to my website.
Oh yeah, it's really
And
nice.
you like that?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and go to my website. And I'm also sending out weekly newsletters. And so I hope you all have been receiving those also. You can use Venmo, the Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, or Square. All you need is my email address, which is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. It's Purdy. I'm available for clarity sessions where I work with you with whatever you're going through. I'm available for coaching and mentoring. Got some great people that I'm working with. Take advantage of my 45 years of obsession with the Course in Miracles. Believe me that it's extremely difficult for someone to say something to me I haven't heard before, and that I don't know what part of the Course in Miracles refers to that. But remember, readiness is not mastery. There's nothing that I'm telling you today that you're going to be instantly able to do if it's something that you haven't developed the ability to do that yet. It's like going to flight school and expecting to be able to fly solo just because you know you're in flight school. It takes a minute to change our mind. That's why I was saying, even if you go to the course and at first you don't feel a big change, but it is a big change because it actually took you siding with your sane mind to even go to it, right? And that's why you want a spiritual path that you will do. If it's not a path that you're willing to do what it's saying, I would invite you to keep looking for your path. Because when you reach your path, even if you have resistance, you still keep doing it anyway. No matter what resistance that came up with me with the Course in Miracles, it never occurred to me to not do it. So it's you want the path that turns you on. You want the path that turns you on. You want, if your dedication is weak, is strong, and your resistance, if it's strong and your dedication is weak, the Course says, tell yourself, I'm not ready. If all you do is fight this material and fight what it's saying, and that's what you do all the time, it says don't fight yourself. You're just not ready. Doesn't mean you're bad. This isn't your path. But there is a path for you. And that path will motivate you. And the most that you can do as a teacher or a parent or a partner is you can't change them. The Course says all you can do is try to motivate a person to want to change themselves. You can't change anybody, but you could be a good motivator. Right? So as a teacher, I want to be a good motivator. Some people, I'm a good motivator. Some people, I'm a good motivator to go in the opposite direction. Some people, I'm a good motivator to go in that direction. But that's okay, because I'm not really giving you a gift if I'm the one that's also determining how you should receive it and how you should respond to it. So I can't give you the gift of the Course in Miracles, and then I'm also determining how you should be reacting to it. Okay, so I just wanted to say that. Go to YouTube, go to Facebook. I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classes that are available. You can also go to my website and get on my contact list so that you can receive the weekly newsletter, and also it gives you an opportunity to play the latest video. I want to build community. I'm asking for community. So especially those of you who are able to come in person, I want to encourage you to do that, because we're at a time where we need community. We're at a time that we need to be in each other's presence as much as possible. And I'm so glad that those of you are online. And I'm getting thousands of views, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. Y'all just so juicy and cute. So that's what time that is.